Locked On Podcast Network presents Locked On Sports Today.
The college basketball season is already bringing the madness, and it's nowhere near March. Also, the king in the NFC North come down to tonight's game, and the Celtics are so bummed that they were eliminated from the NBA Cup. Oh, no, not really. Today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Place your first $5 bet, and you'll get started with $150 in bonus bets guaranteed. Visit FanDuel.com to get started.
I'm Peter Bukowski, starting your day with the can't-miss stories and biggest debates in sports. You're Locked On Sports Today.
Searching all major sports. Found.
Let's start with the biggest story.
It was a wild night in men's college basketball. The number one team goes down, but wait, there's more. The number two team goes down, but wait, there's more. The number 5 team goes down. It was bonkers. Isaac Shade from Locked On College Basketball joins me now. Isaac, it is all of these great conference showcases that we get, these incredible matchups, ones that we probably wouldn't see otherwise. Certainly not rivalry per se here, but as you reflect on a ridiculous night in college basketball, what stands out to you as whether it's the most shocking outcome, the one performance that stood out to you? What is the thing that is carrying your thought right now?
What's carrying my thought, Peter, is that it's a random Wednesday in early December, and we just got all of this, man. College basketball is delivering. You know, we had a great feast week last week with all the MTEs like Maui, the brand new Players Era Festival. And as you said, now we're getting the the SEC Domination Challenge. I don't even think the ACC should be named in it this year. And then the Big 12 Big East Challenge. The Big 10 is playing their first round of conference games right now in 3 different time zones, all on the Big 10 network. Peter, it's Wednesday, December 4th. I absolutely love it. You said what stands out? I think the one that stands out, and I don't want to just get on this because it's the number one team, but Creighton has not been living up to what they're supposed to do this year. Right. To be fair, they've had some injuries. Stephen Ashworth, their point guard's been hurt. Ryan Kalkbrenner, their big dude inside, missed their last game against Notre Dame this weekend. But they come out at home and knock off the number one team in the nation, Kansas, and big time. And Kansas has showed some susceptibility here and there, Peter, if we're being honest. But this is the first time they've lost. And now the undefeated watch, I keep track of all 364 teams. When they lose, we're down to 9. My man, it's happening. Oregon's happening right now. They're down by 10. We could be down to 8 by the end of the night.
We would be remiss if we did not mention one of the marquee matchups of the night. Auburn, number 2 in the country, heading into the evening, playing host to Cooper Flagg and the number 9 Duke Blue Devils. There have been some, I think, unfair, because people like to, do the thing that they do with Duke. And I'm sure you have some fans who might want to do that. Your UNC fans might have some feelings about that. But this was the Cooper Flagg that we thought we were going to get. 22 and 11, also added 4 assists, 3 steals, and Duke gets the upset win. This Duke team has the look of a team.
Peter, let me correct you. Duke was favored in this game because it was in Cameron Indoor Stadium. They were a 2.5-point favorite.
Wow. Okay. So but by ranking, it
was an upset. By Vegas, it was not. Yes.
Also, we're talking about a very, 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 very public Duke team, so that's probably contributes to that line as well. But my point here is this is a Duke team that is a 2-loss team that looked, at least in this game, like the team we thought they could be coming into the year.
Yeah. Look, Peter, Cooper Flagg. I was just looking this up in the games against Auburn, Kansas, the top 2 teams in the nation right now, Arizona and Kentucky, who's number 4, although they lost on Tuesday night to Clemson. In those 4 games, Cooper Flagg is averaging 21.3 points and 8.2 boards, man. This 17-year-old is showing up in the biggest moments, and you absolutely love to see it. What I loved about this matchup, gosh, Peter, I'm just like still giddy as we're talking about this. It's great. So fun, man. Auburn was the number 1 ranked nation offense in the nation at KenPom coming in. Duke, the number 1 ranked defense in the nation coming in at Ken Palm. Yes, they're a young team, but they are massive. Duke, I think scientifically, I think they're 7'6" or taller at every position right now. No, legitimately,
no,
like,
don't fact check that, but it checks out. Yeah,
but legitimately, I think they are like 6'5" at every position. And then I love games like this because it's always somebody unexpected who comes in and does something wacky. Isaiah Evans, who rarely plays, he had played in only 4 of 7 of Duke's games coming into this thing, and then he goes 5 of 7 from 3. Oh, in the first half. I mean, it's just absurd, man. I absolutely love it.
So as we come out of all the carnage, we didn't mention Iowa State taking down Marquette. We didn't talk about Pittsburgh just getting destroyed by Mississippi State. Of crazy game. How do we make sense of where we are right now in college basketball in terms of trying to decide who really are the best teams, or is that just a fool's errand at this point?
It is something of a fool's errand. And also there were 2 other top 25 matchups tonight. We had Alabama coming to North Carolina for a Sweet 16 rematch. We had Baylor going on the road to UConn, who was playing without Alex Caravan. Baylor playing without their big time freshman VJ Edgecombe from the Bahamas. And UConn finally, gets a win against a big-time team after going 0-3 in Maui last week. I think that is a big storyline of Wednesday night. And Peter, part of the reason the carnage, the fool's errand you just mentioned, is that what I love about these challenges is we're not getting these neutral site games. This is true campus environments. But what makes that more difficult to ascertain who these teams truly are is because, of course, you're going to give a bit of a leg up to these homestanding teams. For example, I said Duke was the favorite. I think on a neutral court, Auburn would probably have been a 2 or 3 point favorite in this game. North Carolina favored at home against Alabama by 1.5 points. Neutral court, I bet Auburn's probably a 5-point favorite in that game. So that is certainly a factor in these, but it's so good for basketball because the environments are infinitely better than, playing like at RCA Dome in Indianapolis or something where it's a third full, and they have to rope off the top level. And so, Peter,
it shows the margin too, right, Isaac? Like we get to see how close this is. Like if playing at home really means that much, and you're talking about it's 2 points this way and versus 2 points the other way. That's a band of 4 points, and that's competitive balance in the nation.
It 100% is, because even leaving these games with these 2 teams losing, the 3 most impressive teams to me this early part of the season have been Auburn and Gonzaga and Kansas, all of whom now have a loss after Gonzaga lost to West Virginia last week at Battle for Atlantis. But Duke, my man, I know they have those 2 losses we mentioned, but again, razor's edge even on those. And with this defense, even if their offense is off on a given day, I mean, good luck trying to go in amongst the trees, because Kaman Malawach from South Sudan, he's going to send it back to you. And then the only thing you've got to look forward to is that email I just got when I got my link from you for this that told me 99-cent mozzarella sticks at Sonic today, man. That makes me happy. But getting rejected by Malawach in the lane does not.
You can stay up to date on men's college basketball by subscribing to Locked On Sports Today and Locked On College Basketball on your favorite podcast app and on YouTube. You're Locked On Sports Today. Coming up, the NFC North crown may well be decided tonight. Before we get to why Baltimore acquired a problem at the deadline. Get ready to tackle the NFL action with FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook, because right now new customers can bet $5 and get $150 in bonus bets if you win. The FanDuel Sportsbook app gives you everything you need to place live bets on the NFL all in one place. So when you get a hunch in the middle of the game, you can check out the latest stats, view live play-by-play, and so much more on the same page where you place your bets. Just visit FanDuel.com to join today. You'll get started with $150 in bonus bets. If you win your first $5 bet, you're going to want to check out some lines on Thursday Night Football. The Packers traveling to Detroit to face the Lions, and they think it's close. FanDuel has the Lions favored by 3.5. Banged up Detroit Lions team. Packers dealing with some injuries themselves. Over under makes me think FanDuel likes the quarterbacks in this game. 51.5 is the total. That's FanDuel.com. Never waste a hunch and make every moment more with FanDuel, an official sportsbook partner of the NFL. The Jaguars placed Trevor Lawrence on injured reserve Wednesday, likely ending his season after suffering a concussion late in the first half of the team's 23-20 loss to the Houston Texans on Sunday. Texans linebacker Azeez Al-Shaair was suspended 3 games for hitting Lawrence in the head as he was sliding.
Don't make shift a punishment based on feelings when the player has not been reprimanded before. Azeez has no prior suspensions. So to receive the initial 3-game suspension, I believe is highly unfair. And I think it speaks to a bigger problem in the league where the consistency on punishments is a problem. Why isn't it a standard sentence that is clear cut throughout the league? Yeah. And that's where I think Houston may become the poster child for. There needs to be standards in place. There needs to be language in place that says, okay, listen, you get ejected from a game, this is what the following week for your team and for that player could look like. Because how do you make up 1, 2, 3 into the 4? Now you got Azeez trying to figure out what's going to happen. That's unfair.
Ravens wide receiver Deontay Johnson was suspended for 1 game for refusing to enter his team's game against the Eagles last Sunday. With the Ravens on a bye week, Johnson will miss their next game against the New York Giants. Aaron Rodgers dismissed the notion he was auditioning for next season amid turmoil in New Jersey over the 3-9 New York Jets. When asked, he told reporters, if they want me to stay, fantastic. If it takes these 5 games, maybe they don't know what I bring to the table. But that being said, I'd love to play really friggin' well the last 5 games. ESPN reported one source on the Jets would be, quote, shocked if owner Woody Johnson wanted Rodgers to come back. The NFC North hangs in the balance tonight. Sorry, Vikings fans. I got together with Locked On Lions host Matt Derry to preview the Packers and Lions. The key to me is turnovers. If the Packers win the turnover battle, and in this case, that means forcing a turnover from this offense, it is everything against this Detroit Lions team. When they turn the ball over, they are 16 points per game worse than when they don't. They average 40 points per game when they don't turn the ball over. That is an absurd statistic. Now, that's also colored by the fact that, they turn the ball over 1 billion times against the Texans and still won, right? Like they can win even when that happens. But the Packers are not the Texans. They're a better football team. Jordan Love is a better quarterback than CJ Stroud. I don't know what other evidence you need to see. Watch the games, please. But that's the key to me, because I threw this out on social media, on Blue Sky, on Twitter. I posted the box score and I said, from the last game, and I said, tell me who you think won this game. And the overwhelming response was the team on the left, which was the Lions, by a touchdown. Now they win by 10, right? But the narrative was that was a blowout, that was a domination, that the Packers were down 3 scores into the 4th quarter. And that the last part is of course true, but it was the 1 turnover that became a touchdown that really decided the game. That's the difference in the game. And so
that was a killer.
If you don't do that, the Packers held the Lions defense or the Lions offense to 17 points, under 5 yards per play. I understand it's a monsoon, but who runs the ball on opponents when they're up better than the Lions? No one. So, and the idea that they took their foot off the gas when they throw halfback passes and they're throwing, like they ran Penei Sewell on a reverse pass last week. Not the idea that they would take their foot off the gas against the Green Bay Packers when Amon-Ra St. Brown wears a Green Bay Sucks t-shirt to the arena.
Yes.
Give me a break. The Packers defense played really well in the second half of that game. They kept them in it. I think that the turnover piece of this, if they can just create one and don't turn the ball over, that's the key to me. What about you?
First of all, that Green Bay Sucks t-shirt, I did say on my show that night that shirt was kind of lame because it was misspelled.
Yeah, Green Bay is 2 words, guys. Correct. Just so we know.
Correct.
And we do need to mention Xavier McKinney was asked about that at his locker yesterday. He said, we're not worried about Amon-Ra St. Brown, or he said, we're not worried about that dude. I don't think he meant like we think that guy sucks. No. I think what he meant is we're not worried about him trash talking. We're not worried about what t-shirt he's wearing. Like, we're focused on the game. And that is true, Matt. I have to just give your audience a little bit of insight here. I've mentioned this on our show. This Packers team, by all accounts, in that locker room this week is locked in. They are dialed to this matchup. And so they truly are not worried about any of the external stuff. They are focused on winning a football game. This is a business trip to Detroit. And I think that is part of this too. You have to meet, if you want to beat the Lions, you have to meet their focus and their precision, because right now this is the most focused and precise team in the league. A credit to Dan Campbell and those coordinators. I stepped on your key. Please give it.
Well, no, two things. Number one, red zone defense, which we talked about before. The Lions have been so good.
Elite. Yep.
They're holding the Packers to field goals.
1 for 4 in the last game, the Packers in the red zone scoring touchdowns.
Yeah. Well, they were all split. I mean, the Dolphins never win in the I actually was dumb enough on our Locked On NFC show last week, which we missed you, by the way. I said something like, I think the Dolphins finally do it. I was like, that was the dumbest prediction of all. That's number one. So red zone.
At the end of the first quarter, you're like, crap.
I know. And the number two, remember this name, Al-Qadim Muhammad. Many people don't know who that is, all right? But they're going to need him to rush the passer, because I think the Packers are going to know where Zadarius Smith is. Aleem McNeil is who he is. He's amazing and a beast. But they need some pass rush from Muhammad like they got last game, just off the edge. Because of all the guys that are gone, all the guys that are hurt, sounds like Pascal's not going to play. So Muhammad becomes a guy that has to game wreck a little bit. Because if Jordan Love has time and was comfortable a year ago at Ford Field at Thanksgiving, Lions couldn't touch him last Thanksgiving, and he lit him up. So those are two big things for me: is holding Green Bay to field goals and getting some pressure on Love. Muhammad will be key to be one of the guys that does that. So
the red zone defense is if it was not going to be turnovers, that was going to be mine, because I mentioned that 1 for 4. I wrote about this earlier this week for The Leap, a newsletter I would love for everyone to subscribe to. That if you look at what happened in those red zone trips, the Packers miss Chris Brooks wide open on an angle route. Jordan Love, passes a little behind him. Josh Jacobs probably makes that catch. He might walk in for a touchdown. They have to settle for a field goal. Then Jordan Love misses Christian Watson on a first down play, and then Elton Jenkins throws the ball at Jordan Love's feet. The backup, he's the guard that had to play backup center. They have to settle for a field goal. And then Dontavian Wicks on 3rd and 1 drops the pass. They go for it on 4th down, and Josh Jacobs gets stopped. That's the game. That's the whole game. Is those 3 possessions in the red zone. And I think the Packers are going to have a better plan this time around. I don't think they're going to drop, depending on where you look, 8 passes. They had 4 dropped 3rd downs alone that would have given them 1st downs. I think you're going to see a focused Packers team. And I think this is going to be much like last year, where these two teams split. I don't think there's that big a difference, especially right now with the way the defense is. I think this is like a 27-24 kind of game, a 30-27 kind of game. And I think Green Bay gets it done. I think they have the right mindset. I think it's going to be a really, really good game, a potential classic here coming on Thursday night. You can stay up to date all year on the Green Bay Packers and Detroit Lions by subscribing to Locked On Sports Today, Locked On Packers, and if you must, Locked On Lions on your favorite podcast app and on YouTube. Coming up, the Celtics couldn't care less about being eliminated from the NBA Cup. The Celtics' loss on Tuesday night meant they did not advance to the elimination portion of the NBA Cup. Locked On Celtics host John Corrales says, big whoop.
The Celtics out of the NBA Cup, which, if you can't tell by the dripping sarcasm in the beginning of this podcast, we do not care. The Celtics do not care. Frankly, I think this is going to be the best thing that happens for them. We were talking about it before. Tom, you were saying, like, after this stretch, 6 games and 9 nights, they will have at least 4 days off before the next game. And if that's a home game, then no travel. Yeah. You avoid a trip to Vegas, which, hey, look, I had to cancel my hotel. I was already booked. I was ready to go. I'm always down for a trip to Vegas, but for an NBA team in the middle of your season, the MGM, well, one of the MGM properties.
Oh, okay.
The new one by the arena.
Okay.
Yeah, it was nice. I was excited. Yeah. But
so we're back. The fraudulent Boston Celtics could not even get you to Las Vegas.
But for a team like in December, we had been remarking about how, wow, their West Coast trip has been put off to like January. Like they don't have to try. This would have been, it's a West Coast trip. You're basically out west. You know, you only got to go one more state. It's a drive to Los Angeles. So all in all, there are people who do like the NBA Cup, and I'm kind of lukewarm on it. I don't care. The Celtics very clearly didn't care. They were not invested in this at all, aside from getting Sam Hauser to hit that three-pointer, because you're like, all right, we got to do this.
Yeah.
But ultimately, this is just fine. And
the Celtics don't need the NBA Cup. We talked to Alex Wolf from Locked On Knicks last night. The Knicks need the NBA Cup because they need these reps. They need these games to mean something while they're trying to put the pieces together. The Milwaukee Bucks, who, by the way, are also 3-0 in cup play, they need the NBA Cup to get sharp, to have something to play for early in the season, to have a reason to put your best lineups out there, to play your hardest against another team that's playing their hardest. This was the whole point of having this tournament. And it's working for the teams that it's supposed to work for. The Celtics don't need it. There aren't that many other teams, though, who can say that, because only the Celtics are reigning champions and no one else is a clear and obvious ready-made contender right now today. They could all use the extra work, the extra reps in clutch situations in games that mean a little extra. Defensive tackles rarely get the credit for their obvious talent on the football field. Well, LA Rams defensive tackle Kobe Turner, he tried his talents at something else, singing, except we didn't know that because he was on Fox's celebrity singing competition, The Masked Singer. We found out Goo was, in fact, Kobe Turner. I have to know if someone heard him singing in the shower in the locker room and thought, yeah, you should audition for that show. If you're catching this episode after hearing your favorite Locked On show, make sure to subscribe to Locked On Sports Today on YouTube or wherever you get your podcasts so you never miss an episode. Also, if you're a new subscriber to Locked On Sports Today, we're here for you with the biggest stories in sports every day. Coming up on the next Locked On Sports Today, who will turn a corner in week 14? So at least until tomorrow, stay locked on sports today.
Locked On Podcast Network presents Locked On Sports Today.
Go to our video on demand. Click on sports at the top of your screen. There, you'll find past episodes of Locked On Sports Today, plus other Locked On shows on demand.